I do want you to know, Jeannie, that was a fake tribe established in 2007. And I was in Arkansas when I heard about it because I was coming back and forth. Y'all know I was helping my communities. And that's when I discovered that they were creating a Bayou La Combe Choctaw.
The thing is, Chief,
You can't
people
create a tribe.
don't want the truth. Just like in the movie.
That's a good word. And I'm the
You know,
truth, so they don't want
You
me
can't
either.
handle the truth.
I can.
No, in the
They
movie.
can, huh?
Remember, no, the movie.
Uh-huh.
Remember with
A few good men.
what?
A few good men.
Yeah, a few good.
Now,
Said
this
you
is
can't handle the truth, and that's the truth.
But
The people
I
don't
think-
want the truth. They want to watch stupid television that tells them a bunch of crap that isn't true because they know they can control them by lying to them, and they suck it up.
But since you've been in this town, all you ever known of me is being an Indian. I'm saying you, I ain't talking the world. So, we come in and they get a Creole, and they organize a nation with Creole. What was benefiting these tribes from doing that? And prior to that, guys, y'all know there was never a Bayou La Combe Choctaw tribe. Here, we the only tribe, and that's my family. So another thing you asked me what that was doing, there was somebody trying to divide my family into two pieces.
Somebody's trying to divide
When
your
they
family?
did that, that's what they were doing. When you create two tribes, there's two different leadership. They're like two churches. You understand what I'm saying? So somebody was dividing the strength of our family by creating.
But did they do it to hurt you?
Yeah, they did it to hurt us. Yeah, it was done. It hurts us.
Why would they do that?
Okay, I'll let one of my audience people that's a tribal member answer. How would that hurt us creating a fake tribe up against a real tribe? We'll answer that.
You decrease the numbers that'll fight back and preserve what you got.
But the strangest thing, why would federally recognized tribes be so concerned about here if they didn't know us? That's a good question to be asked to somebody, correct? They're going to hold a meeting, bring in Oklahoma, Mississippi, Louisiana, but they never contacted us. And then we start seeing our name being pushed off of the rolls with the state they tried. But I'm too active for that, okay? My history is here. This is what they don't understand. You're not going to come through and take my auntie and say, she an Indian. This is my grandfather's that raised me. This is his mama's, well, his grandmother's sister.
Let me ask you about Pierre Juzin.
Go ahead.
Because, I went down to the Battle of New Orleans to that
Go
thing.
ahead.
They didn't even mention it.
That's what I'm talking about.
I know, and I went there specifically.
You told me you were
Right
going to
here.
do that. And I told you they wasn't.
They had a nice young lady, a Houma Indian girl. She talked about the Houma Indians and didn't mention the Battle in New Orleans.
Good question when you say
Nothing,
Houma Indian.
didn't mention.
Not the stuff I talk about.
I had to ask a question. How did Andrew Jackson get in touch with the Choctaw?
Could anybody else?
And she couldn't answer.
See what I'm trying to tell you?
Huh?
But when you talk to me, we can go back and forth. Why?
Yeah,
Because I
I mean,
know my history.
I never knew anything about
Question.
So I was interested. I wanted to learn who he was and how he was related to you and blah, 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 blah.
Nobody can't help you.
Huh?
They can't help you. Because you remember how you say we are in La Combe and Beaufort? We keep our mouth what? Closed. So we ain't telling homers yet, so they can't take that and repeat it back to you.
Well,
Now, let's do this. Are you, in all of your research, since you brought up home, all of your research, you've been out there, you told me since 1975 or something like that, right?
yeah.
From 75 to now, since you had interest in our people, have you found that the Homer was the ones, it didn't say Homer, it says us, led him in battle. Everything you look here say Choctaw, nothing about Homer. Now,
No, the Houma weren't here. That's the thing. The Houma, as far as I know, were never in this part of St. Tammany. They were over by the Mississippi River. They were up by the Red River, got pushed down, kept the Bayou Gula, made war against them, kept pushing them down all the way to Dulac. And
they spoke the same language.
And now the water's coming up and they're moving.
And you find them, when you're doing research, you find them and the Biloxi speaking And the Biloxi was just a little group over there on the coast. If you ever look at any of the maps.
They're Iroquoian language, the
That's
Biloxi
right.
Indians.
And them and the Homer spoke the same dialect. If you look at the dialect map back in the days in the 1700s.
Is that right?
Yeah, but they were not Choctaw. The Biloxi, that's not. Y'all
No,
heard him
I
say
know
it.
they
Y'all
weren't.
heard him.
I know
He's
they were
been
not
researching
Choctaw.
since 75. He's telling the truth.
No, the Choctaw were
We was
Muskogean,
Muskogee.
and the Biloxi, and anthropologists can't explain how that little group of Iroquoian speakers
End up right in
got
that
down
one little
right
spot.
there, one little
spot,
yeah.
y'all.
So,
Y'all with where I'm
you know,
at?
there's
So-
a lot that we don't know because they didn't write stuff down.
But I think doing what we're doing now can bring about more history understanding. Now, y'all with me out there? Do y'all agree? Because we coming from two different levels of research. Y'all getting what I'm saying? This ain't a conspiracy. Compare our notes. That's what Jeannie brought us together for. Because poor Jeannie's sitting over there like, okay, he's saying this, you saying this, and she's wanting to help.
Yeah.
And like she's saying, well, we are losing, she see now what we're losing the history. Because we're not, you know, it's some kind of wall they tried to build a block me, but it's time for that wall to come down. Otherwise, this history dies. And then everybody have lost, except but those who want the green. So if you really...
Well, I'm going to defend my friend Peter Cookin.
Well, that's your friend.
Because
Me and Peter used to talk, but I'll tell Peter the truth. He knew that. You know, Peter would come by me sometimes.
but
Peter
he
wrote a-
I remember that book.
You got a copy of it?
Huh?
You got a
yeah,
copy
oh
of it?
yeah, I got a
Well, you
copy.
got to give me a copy of that book. I done lost mine during the Katrina era. But he wrote a book, right?
Yeah.
And in there he admits that he didn't want to be with his grandma didn't want to be an Indian. They stayed away from us, and they was like, you remember he told us the story himself. So I'm not lying on Peter. I'm repeating what Peter used to say himself. Peter was a character, okay? But Peter would call me and talk. Peter came by. I used to tell Peter, why don't you take all the maps you done took from the parish, bring them back so when we doing research, the maps need to be in archives. Peter had a map collection from the parish out of this world. You know that.
Yeah, he gave me, I got him. I got
You know what I'm
him.
saying? So I used to go, well, if I need a map, you come, I better ask him, Peter, do you have that 1927 map? Because the parish don't have it, Peter got it.
Yeah.
And that's why I used to say, Peter, could you get a parish a copy of these maps so we can have stuff for when people actually doing research? So, if Peter was living today, I would have invited him to this.
Well, read what I wrote about him for you.
But you
not,
know,
not now, but I mean.
but you know
later.
he wasn't no chief or no tribe. You knew
The
that.
dreams of a chief,
Oh, okay, there you go.
you know, and it kind of applies to you too.
I didn't make myself chief.
So,
That's my grandpa,
that's your grandpa. What was his name?
Pierre Jose.
Looking at the map.
That's Pia.
Yes.
The,
So I ain't make myself no chief. I'm a blood chief. Move in a little closer. I inherit mine.
how did he become chief?
Because he was Pushmata's nephew.
Pushmataha?
Yeah, nephew.
Oh, he was the nephew.
Yeah, his mama was Pushmata's sister.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. So I'm not the
Pushmataha.
raw family.
You know, there's a lot of controversy about Pushmataha
Let me
and
hear.
the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek.
There's a lot went on, huh?
Yeah.
Somebody
Money.
got
money,
suckered, huh?
money.
Yeah, now my people got suckered. And they made a treaty within the treaty for him, and they ain't held to that. Because if they would have held to that, the Portavants and all these timber cutters wouldn't be able to cut the trees if they held to what they promised him. Some of that have been still here today. Because it's in the treaty. Y'all getting what I'm saying? So, no, I didn't make myself chief. His children, descendants.
So it's hereditary.
That's right.
What you're saying. Oh,
That's
okay.
correct. That's why I'm not worrying about the BIA recognizing me. I was recognized under that treaty. Article 14. Now all you gotta do is prove, is he my grandpa? Is this my aunties? Is this my grandma? And we just walked this room. I'm not a scattered shot Indian. And then they came in, they drift, they flew. We can show land in this area under France, Spain, Britain, and United States. And ain't too
How
people
can you
even-
show it?
Well, under most of them, we got Spanish land grants also.
You do still?
Yeah. Which they done took
Now
some.
that's valuable.
So I can prove who my people is. So I just want to know how the other nations in the Jena say they come out of us, and you got federally recognized, and we ain't Indian enough. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Pierre Joseph children and grandchildren. Bloodline is not strong enough to be Indians because of the color.
How do you know how he first met Andrew Jackson?
Yeah.
How?
Actually, he helped Andrew Jackson in an earlier battle.
With what? Where?
Going up toward the Tennessee area.
Because I know, Andrew was fighting in Florida.
That
In
too.
the battle of the massacre at Fort Mims.
When he said he was going to remove all the black Indians out of, you said that, you saw that in research. He said he had to remove the black Indians out of West Florida. Actually, they was all the way
See,
from West
according
East
to what I've heard, learned, is that he had the Choctaw guarding Sheffman to a pass,
Yeah, that's part of it.
and.
But why was my grandfather and them fighting is what we got to see.
He what?
You think my grandfather and them was fighting to protect Andrew Jackson only, or were they
Oh, no,
fighting to
no,
protect
of
their
course not.
families and their villages? Y'all listening to what I'm saying?
You make alliances out of need.
Well, we was caught between all these European peoples.
Yeah.
So you have to pick which one.
And the Chickasaw
And
and
who
the
lied?
Creek were the Choctaw enemy.
But the Indians didn't lie. Well, the Choctaw and the Creek is the same people. They family.
But they fought.
Well, why did they fight? Because the
Because
British
they're
and all
family
of them put
disagreement.
Same thing happening here with trying to create a tribe. The British and them. There's no such as a Creek in our people. Do y'all hear me? That was the first division. When they started talking about Creek,
And
there
now-
is no aura in our language for us to have a Creek Indian. Y'all understand?
But there was
My
Upper
grandfather
Creek
taught
and
me.
Lower Creek.
But they was not a Creek. If they didn't call themselves that, who did that? The Europeans.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's no aura in the Muskogee language for them to refer to themselves as a Creek. Y'all got me. They were Choctaw people who got divided. That's the way my grandfather taught me. The Chickasaw, that's our people. Divided. That was the first division. Okay? And then the next division come from the European dividing the Choctaw people into creeks. And how that happened is one part of my people, the Upper Creek, was fighting with British, and the Lower Creek was down here fighting. Y'all getting what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they made us enemies of
Yeah.
ourselves.
Gave them guns and money and whiskey.
Well, we
and,
got our
you know,
guns. That's how we
all
could
of
help
that.
Andrew Jackson. You know that we already had guns before Andrew Jackson got here. My grandpa and them already had guns. And you remember where they got it from, huh? Tell me when you research. Where did my people get their guns from? Because Andrew
British.
Jackson,
I mean, the French.
there you go. Andrew Jackson come from Tennessee with people with sticks and bats, and that's what they say. They have no guns. Few little guns they had. But when he got here and allied with our people, we had gun and gunpowder. Do y'all hear me? That we had got from what? French trade.
Yeah.
So, the British thought he ain't have nothing. And he had a secret ammunition. Indians with guns and gunpowder.
And he got some from Jean Lafitte, too. Jean
That's right.
Lafitte gave him a lot of help with the cannon and
Y'all hear that?
gunpowder. Yeah.
And where was John Lafitte from? The Caribbean islands.
Yeah,
That
he
was trade going on here in the Caribbean islands.
He
Y'all
was
get what I'm
like
saying?
my grandfather, a
Trade.
soldier of fortune.
You understand what I'm saying? See, y'all see. That's why Jeannie said, maybe y'all need to talk. I said, well, maybe we need to record it. And you heard say I'm not lying. So, who won the Battle of New Orleans? Which was really the Battle of West Florida? My grandfather. When was that holiday celebrated? For the Battle of New Orleans or West Florida? January the 8th. Okay? Got wiped out. Instead of people celebrating 4th of July, which was for the East Coast, after 13 colonies had, that's their holiday. 13 colony holiday is the 4th of July. But if you want to celebrate being in America, over here, outside of the 13 colonies in West Florida, that date is January the 8th. Y'all listening at me? And it once was celebrated, and that's why Andrew Jackson came back for celebration. You done seen that too, right? So why they got us celebrating even the wrong holidays? January 8th should be a day of recognition. You just said you went to the Battle of New Orleans and the man that put together the people with the guns. You understand? And guarded the swamp was not mentioned or not known. That's how it hurts me. And that's what Jena says. Why don't y'all come together and let's just teach the truth? I already teach the truth. That fort out there has nothing to do with Salva. That fort is out there because that was my grandfather in them fort.
In Fort McComb? You're talking about Fort McComb on Sheffman?
Well, you know that one was ours too. Plus, Fort Pike was for the Indians too. But each country came here where they wanted to go, out there to that fort. Why? Because it guarded that path. You know that.
Yeah, you get to the pass.
Y'all see what I'm saying?
It was called Fort Cookin before they built the...
And it was ours. They took it. History can prove it. He just said the name. Fort Pike, that was ours. They took it, named it after Pike. That's guarding that main area. If that area was not guarded by my people, they would have lost.
No, they weren't at the Wrigley's. They were at
Not the Wrigley's, that path.
Chef,
Yeah, that path. That's what won it. And who was in that path? My people with real ammunition and gunpowder and guns. And like you said, we can't leave those cannons out. Because they had about 8,000 soldiers versus, they call, if you read in the history what they call them, ragtags. Andrew Jackson, they say, won the battle with a ragtag army. Who was the ragtags? You had free people of color. You had slaves building mounds to protect their backs of the soldiers, slaves. And you had the Indians with their guns and gunpowder. Y'all listen to that mean? It was a team effort.
Don't forget the pirates.
Don't forget the pirates and don't forget the few little, 2-3 little Europeans.
And the regulars, they did have.
There's a few of them, but they not as many as what I just named in the beginning. Andrew Jackson would have died. The history would have went down. Andrew Jackson died in New Orleans. If it wasn't for the blacks, and slaves was not only black folks. We got you see it in history.
He didn't like the Indians.
Say it again.
He really had a...
So who was our people fighting for if he didn't like the Indians? They were protecting their homeland. Y'all getting what I'm saying? Because Andrew Jackson got his butt whipped.
Well, this is what I'm
Our people were going to have to pay the consequences for it. So they have no choice.
What kind of a deal did he make with your grandfather?
He promised my grandfather a dual
I
citizenship.
mean, I'm sorry, not your
That's my grandfather.
Oh, that, okay.
He promised us dual citizenship. So, better to be with us than to be with the British. And that was a lie. We ain't been under nobody for 200 years of oppression like we've been under America. And I think it's wrong that the government reorganized tribes and left us out. Because everybody, if y'all really go research, you'll see what Woodrow Wilson did to us. So we can just stop at Andrew. Right. Woodrow Wilson did it to us. Tricky Dick. Nobody understand how he earned the name Tricky Dick. Because Nixon was tricky. But Andrew Jackson was like that too. And so was Woodrow Wilson. You know I'm telling the truth. And, you know, my thing is, some of these people we making heroes. Look at the ones fought with the Confederate, but America paid them. Both sides paid them money. Let's look at John Roth. His family collected money from the Union and the Confederacy. He got 2 checks. All he got to do is change one last name. You didn't have to do like you do today. You could change your name and be this over there and that over here. Y'all, it was about what he said. Who could get the money? And it's time history be redone. They've written us out. You cannot talk about Indians in the past and don't pull Indians out that look like on here. Or that look like me. We was under the Darwin type theory. Where Darwin was trying to, with eugenics, trying to create the perfect white race. And white people have to come to part with that. This stuff happened. Eugenics. Genocide. and there's paper genocide, and that's what
Well,
I'm
how
a
do
victim
you
of.
want to rectify that?
Tell the truth and write
How?
about it, like we're doing right now.
Okay, but
But I want to show you about the Jena. It's in here somewhere. Let me tell you something. These people have lied so much. It's time we tell the truth.
well, I know that people have been lying since
Okay.
they could talk. When man first grunted, it was probably
I
a
didn't
lie
print
rather
this.
than
I
a
didn't.
warning.
I mean, I printed it, but I didn't write this. This was what, and I called the chief about that. Read what he said right here. So they tell you in their own writing from their own chief that they was just about out of here. They was all European till they married that small little group. And you mean to tell me we ain't Indian enough to get us our respect from my grandpa? I don't want to be under no BIA and a part of the Dancing Rabbit Treaty or Article 14. You promised us dual citizenship.
Who did?
The president that signed it, Andrew Jackson. And I don't know why people glorify somebody that lied so much and did so much. But,
That's how you get to be president.
so we know he
But
lied.
I just tell you about people
His
don't
own
want the
friends
truth.
in Washington
They
said
want
he
to
was
be
lying.
lied to, my dude.
What did they say in Washington? He was a
Chief,
liar.
they want to be lied to.
Well, I don't want to be lied to. I want the truth.
Well,
Now, do you see what I'm saying about the Jena?
yeah.
Now, I didn't say that. They saying that.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I'm not an Indian, then how they got federal recognition?
So they came from Oklahoma to Jena, is what this says, right?
And then they said they went to
And
Oklahoma.
then they went back. Part of them
They
went.
come back. And then they was marrying Europeans. And this what it say? Until one man. Read it. And if the United States gave them recognition on that, tell me something. They ain't even have to prove the man.
So it said Bill Lewis was from Bayou La Combe.
One man. And how many children he had? 15. And they say they began to marry his children.
Well, that's what makes population.
Okay, but we ain't never left here. But they can be recognized. Now they're going to come back to destroy me and create a Bayou La Combe Choctaw. And it didn't work, did it? Be honest, it didn't work. Now you got some
No,
people
because
calling
they
people.
wanted, you know why? Because they wanted to keep it under their control and not incorporate. I urged them. I brought in, Margot.
Yeah, she ain't Indian from here.
I brought in Margot. I brought in
But I know Margot.
I can't remember his name. He was an artist. I brought in other Choctaw. They didn't want to have them. They wanted to just have their own family. And I said, that's wrong, so I resigned. I got out. I was never a member of the council.
But then Jena and them are not working with those groups either right now. I don't look like.
Working with me.
Well, you need to tell Jena, if they say I'm not me, then Washington need to tell, because I sent this to Washington. I say they need to be pulled from being recognized because their recognition come off our people.
Well, there's a lot that has to be.
Well, you need to put a meeting
corrected.
with us too.
Ma'am?
You need to get a meeting like Jeannie did with me and you. You need to get me one with the chief of them because if I'm not real, they not real.
Well,
Because the Lewises is my family member.
here's what I'm trying to do in Abita Springs is have a combination of a bicycle festival and a Choctaw heritage.
I want to go out there, step judgment. It's what y'all want to see Indians do. Look. I'm not fixing to do this for white people, okay?
What?
I'm not in the Mardi Gras. I'm not going out there. Hey, low, la. No, sir. I'm a fighter. I'm not a fool. I'm not doing it.
Well,
I got tired of these people looking like Chinese. Anybody got a towel?
just telling
Just
you.
gumping around on a circle. Do. Man, I got soul. I can dance. That looks so stupid. Do you know we brought about jazz? We the music makers. We put the oomph in the stump. And I'm going to get out there tonight. Low, la. No.
well,
That's too far.
That's for you, but if it works for them,
Here.
don't
I'm
disparage
staying
them
right
because
here.
of that.
I'm going to stay right
You
here.
get pissed off because people disparage you. So you
Man,
should
we
not
ain't never
disparage
did.
them.
We ain't never did them dances.
Huh?
I was with Indians. They ain't never did them dances.
Well,
I came up with all the Indians and I saw them dance. They didn't do that.
No, of course not. It's,
And ain't nobody gonna tell me all of a sudden I'm gonna pick up something that these old people didn't teach me. Do y'all hear me? Because people like to make money off commercials and entertainment. Yes, you said it's about money. So it's about creating some kind of folklore
but
thing
it's more
to
than
create
money.
But it's misleading the history.
Well, but you can also.
Why don't we do this then?
If you
Why don't we
participate-
reenact? Why don't we reenact what happened to the Indians?
What?
Reenact what really happened. Don't y'all agree?
Okay, that's your opportunity.
But not jumping around.
Well, you don't have to be jumping around with them. You can be
No.
doing your own thing.
But if you don't want to communicate with Jena, you can let them know I sent this.
Oh, I'm
question
not.
with you.
Look, I'm not.
No. I just want you to see how you clear it up. How could they come out of La Combe Indian if there is no
Yeah,
La Combe
I
Indian?
mean,
That need to be resolved.
They
though.
only told me what they said.
I just showed it to you in writing.
But you demonstrated it.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not
yeah.
gonna come to you with no lies. They said it right there.
Yeah,
So they need to check because when I get to Washington,
yeah.
to Congress, either they're gonna be Indians or not. Who are they? You can't identify yourself off of something that don't exist. Then you're gonna come try to create a Bayou La Combe Choctaw in the after fact. If you're gonna come through us, use us for recognition, come really to the people who it was. Do y'all agree? Otherwise, they can't prove they didn't inherit this without us too.
Well, that's their prerogative. I don't want to get
But
into
they can't.
all of that.
They can't. Nobody called me when y'all had none of your meetings. Is what I'm telling you. And they need to talk.
All I wanted to do is try to help them grow and organize and.
You shouldn't have to help them grow and organize. I don't need you to help me grow and organize. I know my history. So they might have came to you for one thing, but a real tribe should not have to go to nobody. How can a white man give me history on something that's me?
It's not color, it's fact. It's intellect.
Okay, hold on.
It's
They've been calling
determination.
white man before I start calling white man. Even in your white man Western, they say white
Well,
man.
you're showing your prejudice by.
Okay, was that showing prejudice back then?
Well, of course.
No, that wasn't.
But, you know.
No, that wasn't. My people saw something they had never saw before. Okay? My people have never had the control over the white community. Ever since the white people came, they have had control. How you get white supremacy? How do you get systematic racism?
They made it.
Who did?
The Europeans.
Okay, what color was most of them?
Well, yeah, I mean.
All right, so I'm not showing my prejudice. Just showing me saying facts. Facts. We want to change the colors when it fix it pretty, but then I'm a racist when I tell the truth.
I didn't say that.
No, I say that's the way it look. Look, well, listen. Tell the truth associated with the colors. Like I told you, they
Well,
got
your
black
truth
European.
can be subjective.
Listen,
though.
but they have black.
Isn't that
Didn't I
right?
say earlier?
Isn't your truth sometimes subjective?
No, I told you the
No?
truth.
Oh, wow.
I told you they had
So
black
you're always
European.
right.
No, no. Oh yeah,
All
I'm
right.
not coming with you unless I'm factual. I'm gonna do my homework too.
Okay,
I checked
well.
my grandfathers out. So
I
to
mean,
make
your
sure I was right.
opinion is
when I
always
told you
right?
Jena got
Is
the
that what
heritage
you're
off for
saying?
us. Wait,
See?
when I told you Jena got the heritage off us, didn't I show you in paper what he said that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
and
that's
I
the way
agree.
I'm gonna be. Now watch this though. I also told you
But
they
you're
had black
making a
slave owners.
judgment on
Didn't
other
I say-
person's character.
No, there were black people who had slaves here, not
So
white.
what?
They had white people who came later. What you mean, so what? If it was just so what, why does black people have to go through all these Jim Crow
Slavery's
laws?
been around long before there was any.
What about Jim Crow
even
law?
United
What about
States.
Jim Crow law? Where it come from? Jim Crow law.
It was established after the election of 1878 when Rutherford B. Hayes was elected president by one vote.
Who put that in place?
Yeah, the people who had lost the war
What color was that?
in order to get, well, you know.
No, come on now.
You're asking silly questions.
Now, that's a silly question. I'm just saying
Yes,
you gotta
ma'am,
tell
yeah.
the whole history.
Well,
they were white people that put the law
obviously,
together.
it
And who
was
did
the
they put the law
people
against? Who did they put the law
Who,
against?
listen, it was
Black people.
obviously people who had the control returned to them,
Okay.
who had rebelled against the Union in order to keep slaves.
That's correct.
That's what it was.
So slaves wasn't trying to keep slaves?
Listen, it was an economic decision. It wasn't
So now we
white
can't talk
or
about
black.
what they did? But I said they had black Europeans owning slaves and whites. But who suffered
But it was
the
an
Indians.
economic decision.
But it caused
That
other
was
people pain.
listen, see, this is what a lot of people, no matter what they call it, but a lot of people miss the object of the rebellion.
Okay.
The object was to keep slaves, and it was in the Confederate
What was the benefit
Constitution.
for the slave?
None. You know, I mean,
So we just supposed to just
who
tell
cares?
people
Because
they descendants
well,
care.
but no, I'm talking from the perspective of the rebellion.
Okay. Now my people wasn't slaves. They tell you in all your research
Of
my
course,
people
the
owned
Indians
tons
were
of stuff.
slaves.
No,
The
not my
Indians were
people
the
wasn't.
first slaves.
Some Indians were slaves.
No, most. All through South America.
My people was owning
Mexico,
land. My people was
they were
owning
slaves.
land. No, my people was
Yes, they
owning
were.
land.
Don't say no. You
They
don't
was
know.
enslaved every.
They
I
were
know my
slaves.
people told me they never were slaves.
No, but I'm not talking about your people.
But
I
we
just
know
said
they
South
enslaved
America,
some of our people.
Mexico.
Okay, but every
The Mayan, the
listen,
Aztecs,
just like
they were
every
slaves.
white person didn't steal from the Indians or do wrong, every Indian wasn't a slave. Y'all getting what I'm saying? Now let me explain this to you.
You're talking about North American Indians.
I'm talking about my family.
Oh,
right
okay.
here.
Well, I'm
here.
talking a
We
bigger
free.
perspective.
Yeah,
you're very
know
narrow.
about it.
You're very
I gotta
narrow.
stay in them.
You're very
I gotta stay
narrow-minded.
with my people.
That's why you're fixated.
No, I gotta stay with my trees.
You're very fixated on your opinion, which is great for you. But you have to see
I'm not
the
trying to
broad
speak for.
picture.
I'm not trying to speak for Iroquois or none of this. I
Well,
don't have a
then-
right to do that. White
well,
people do that thing good.
you're
You know what a white
speaking-
person to do? Watch
you're
this.
speaking
I'm gonna
for the
show you
people
something.
in
Nope,
Bayou
I'm gonna show
La
you
Combe.
something on white privilege. A black person, Indian person, they'll just assume something and just sit there quiet. White people, especially white women, they don't mind. That's why y'all have the Confederate, the daughters of the Confederacy. They'll come up to you. What color your people were? How they cook gumbo?
How do you
What
cook
they put in it? You know, white folks always ask people of color everything. Now, if a black person, on the other hand, walk up to a white person, what's your grandpa's name? What y'all did? What y'all used to eat? Then that's not appropriate. But people do that to us. We some kind of freak show. Go ask a white woman, just walk up to her like white people do me in the store. What kind of job you do? How y'all live? How y'all survived?
Who
White
are you
people do
talking
that.
about?
This is what.
Who are
Come
you
on now.
talking about?
This is how history is done.
What?
Yeah, white people just walk up with a notepad, ask you questions. I told Margaret, the one that got that slave thing over there, her and the Boy Scout, where did they get them slaves from? Who told them they had that many slaves over here? They see people of color, they look for slaves. That's junk passed down through the history they taught. My people was building schooners and ships. See that schooner over there? Snook brought this out. Nobody had this ship till Snook brought it out, and we let them use it for documentaries. I saw a book the other day, me and Doreen. Got this in there to my Salmon shipyard. This ain't no Salmon shipyard. And this is not on no Bonfire. So, you know, my grandfather had a big shipyard right there in Madisonville and Mandeville. Let me tell you something. Stop making the Indians look like there was some people running around, hooping and hollering.
I still don't get
When
what
they
you're
came
talking
here,
about.
the white folks walked up to my people and said, what is a blowgun? So people showed them the blowgun. They got them out there to demonstrate it. Bruce Snell and them got the pictures. They got them to demonstrate stuff. Then they took that. You understand? Just like they got Ton Emma to take her slashing beads off, and they put it on each one of them. That's what this display here for you to see. Same beads, same slashing. It was only one slash and one set of beads, so that they could take a picture to take an image to the rest of the world. Y'all see what I'm saying? Stop it. I've talked to Jena. She honest. She said, I was just trying to put something together to save it. But we ain't trying to put something together. We are telling who we are. We didn't call ourselves no Choctaw. My grandfather, people said until he had cursed. If my grandfather was living with what y'all doing, I'm telling you, God help the truth and go ask anybody. Him and the Parker, my uncle, the Parker in the car, they ran you out of here a long time ago, messing in their history. Go ask anybody in La Combe.
I'm not messing with that history.
That when y'all ain't
What
understand.
makes you say that? That's
Because
silly.
y'all not writing our history.
What do you mean you all?
Whoever been writing, not us.
What?
Okay. First
Writing
of all,
what
we're
up?
not Choctaw. We Choctaw. The next thing, the waterways got changed by white people.
You're
and
not
Creoles.
making sense.
Anybody out there think I'm not making sense?
I do.
Who are you organizing the Choctaw thing in Abita for? Who do you speak for? That you're organizing a Choctaw event in Abita?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I don't have my hearing aid. I'm hard of
Who
hearing.
are you organizing? Why are you organizing a Choctaw event in Abita? How is it that you're doing that? You just said you were doing that. How are you the Choctaw to organize that?
But he say he Cherokee.
No, but he just said he was gonna have.
Yes, he did. Y'all give me a
when
drink
is it,
break.
who's doing it?
If y'all have some questions, Jeannie, if you have any, y'all feel free. Let me get this swallow this drink right quick.
We're trying to establish a Choctaw nature trail between Camp Salmon and Abita Springs.
Who is we?
Ma'am?
Who is we? Who is we?
La Combe Heritage Center. We were first organized as part of the bicentennial in 1976, 1996, for the American Revolution bicentennial. And we established the La Combe Museum, and because a lot of our people were Choctaw Creole by heritage, they elected me chairman of the Heritage Division. There were 3 divisions. Horizon, which was for things of the future. So we got the La Combe Park established through that division. Heritage, which was for things of the past. So we wrote the book on the things of the past, made a museum, the La Combe Museum, and festival, which was for the bicentennial festival in 1976. It was so successful because all of the people came together, and black, white, Creole, everybody participated, and was so well done that we decided to continue it. So I established the Bayou La Combe Crab Festival, and with $600. And so, but at the time I had an advertising agency, and so I was able to get free promotion, basically. And so we had 3,000 people the first year in 1977. And from then on, we started building. So by 1986, when I was ready to turn it over to the people of La Combe, we were getting 30,000 people coming, because people would tell us that it was the best festival that they had ever been to, because of the friendliness, courtesy, and of the people, and of course the good food and everything else that went with it. Unfortunately, we had a cadre of nasty people who took it over because of ego, ignorance, and greed. They bankrupted it. Then it was taken over by 4 bureaucrats with the parish, who turned it into a corporate sponsored entity, which ruined it even further. So after 2 years, right the month before the festival was supposed to go on again, they quit and left the community high and dry. So I got 2 people, 2 black friends of mine, to put up the money to start the festival again. And so for 2 years, we didn't do real well, but was starting to build again. And then one of the people who was on the board of the recreation district, which controlled the use of the park where the festival was put on, decided they were going to take it over and refused to allow these two gentlemen to have access to the park. So they renamed it the St. Tammany Crab Festival and took it to Slidell, where it's doing pretty well. So my interest is in heritage, whether it's your heritage or somebody else's, whether it's the heritage of people that you disagree with or agree with or love. It is a heritage that, as Elwin says, when you speak the truth, it can be preserved. And so Abita Springs, the town just paid $125,000 to have people from outside come and tell them how to redo their town. One of the things they suggested was building a 4-story concrete garage in the center of Abita Springs. I suggested instead that we have a bike festival, which had been going on for years anyway, and co-join that with the heritage of the Choctaw that was in Abita Springs, and to have a festival called CHIEF, CHIEF, which is an acronym for Choctaw Heritage, Indian Enterprises, and Folk Life, so that it will focus on Indian or Choctaw in specific heritage and business enterprise, because the people up in Philadelphia have made quite a success of their business and their business enterprises. So what my intention is to invite people from all of the Choctaw areas, Durant, Oklahoma, Clifton, Louisiana, Jena, here, and Philadelphia, Mississippi, the MOWA band north of Mobile, Alabama, to have their people come and participate in CHIEF, in the Choctaw Heritage, Indian Enterprise, and Folk Life, so that they can showcase their heritage. Does that make sense to you?
No, it doesn't. So you still plan to continue, so you still intend to completely ignore the Choctaw tribe here?
Ma'am?
You still intend to completely exclude and ignore the Choctaw tribe here?
Am I choosing to ignore what?
Chief and the Choctaw tribe.
The Choctaw
You're
what?
bringing people from Durant and all these things, but you're not gonna involve Chief, but you're gonna call it Chief. And you're not gonna involve the Chief here.
I'm sorry, I can't understand you.
He is here to work together with Chief right now. His presence says that he wants to work with Chief and the local, the people here. He wants to all come together.
Well, he didn't describe that though. I just asked him what he was doing. Okay, well, let me.
What is
go
it
ahead.
you asked me? I'm sorry.
Well, go ahead and, I was just
I
asking
can
you a
tell
question.
His presence means that he wants to all work together with, that's why he's here right now, so much of my own efforts all these years is just out of ignorance. I mean, I never meant to exclude anybody.
Sharon, what is it you asked me?
You just, well, why don't you go ahead and explain it to me?
No,
Because I-
answer me. What, I didn't understand you.
No, I said, so you still are gonna exclude, you talked about all the people that were gonna be involved in the event called Chief in Abita Springs this year.
I'm hoping they will. I'm gonna invite them.
Okay.
Just like I'm inviting, Chief here.
Well, that's what I asked. It's okay, so go ahead with that.
That's what you asked?
You didn't mention that. You talked earlier.
I invited her before. That's what I asked her.
Okay.
So, you know,
There you go. But anyway,
to participate, you know, to showcase her heritage. That's what I'm trying to do through the La Combe Heritage Center, have been since 1975, actually even before that, when I was in New Orleans and all, you know, so you should know that. You wrote about stuff, and we did in La Combe. You know, you should know. You don't remember?
Well, I remember that the guy with the museum came in and said that they were suing you for taking artifacts out of the Combe Museum, so I don't know what happened there.
No, those were my artifacts. No, I sued them because I gave them on temporary loan, and I thought that we explained that to you,
I
Sharon.
don't think we ever recorded anything, we ever wrote anything
Yeah,
about
well,
it.
you
I
know,
didn't get
there's a
involved
lot
with
of
that.
stupidity that goes around that is deliberate, and
okay, can I ask a question?
the museum was controlled by bigots, Bobby Authors.
Mhm.
You know they were bigots. They said, we don't want no niggers in here.
Okay, that's the stuff I'm talking about.
They kicked me out because I said, you know, my friends, I got
Okay.
several of my friends
Ask a
Okay,
question.
I didn't
to
mean
be in there.
I didn't
He,
mean
he right on cue on what I'm saying. You just
Okay,
said what I'm
well,
saying. You just said,
I
you just said what I was saying. Okay, we've been niggers for a long time on our own land. And the niggers can't talk and the niggers don't have voices. Do you understand that, Jeannie? And all of these boards do not have anyone from our tribe that go for the heritage, the parks, the whatever. We are invisible. And we are fighting for our visibility. I have 2 grandbabies now. And I am taking a stand that I took when in integrated school that my grandparents and my mama took. Enough is enough.
yeah, well, that's why I'm here to help.
The museum has stuff in it that has, matter of fact, the building that the museum was in, niggas couldn't go there. That's first off.
Yeah.
You got that, Jeannie? And they called you just what he said. They called us niggas. Niggas couldn't go there.
I couldn't
So
go.
how can a museum representing people be placed in a place where they said niggas couldn't go?
Let me tell you,
And I'm glad
I
we own the
couldn't go
word
as a
nigger.
Boy Scout because I had Indian blood.
Round here you would have passed. We got them darker than you in Pearl
But
River.
they wouldn't let me. I'm telling you. You think
Not
I'm lying?
because you had Indian blood, maybe because you was an outsider to this deal.
No, ma'am, because I was Cherokee. I wanted to go.
Well, I can't tell a Cherokee from a white man.
Well, then you don't know enough about it, do you? And you
Yes,
need
I
to be
do.
educated.
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do. You need to be
I
educated.
know the Scottish and the Irish
Just like
intermarried into the Cherokee, and it was more Scottish Irish than it is the Indians. Come on now, we know that.
Education is a
Oh, I'm very
freeing
well
thing.
educated. I'm not going to get miseducated.
Well,
All right, y'all? So the Indians were dark.
Yes.
And they came from dark to white. Now, I just want to know, how do you get white out of darkness if you don't bleach it? It gets whitewashed. And if I could see Indians of different colors, if you were sitting in the room, we all say Indians.
my uncles, my aunts and uncles were all dark. You know,
Well, why you don't bring their pictures on display? Okay, let's do another thing. I told you, I said, you
What do you
dig
mean
it
why I
in.
don't pick?
Because you telling us to display us. Well, you should be able to display your Indian heritage too.
Why
the
should
Cherokee.
I?
Because the Cherokee need to be displayed.
I do.
I don't see
We
that
have,
one.
look, We have it in the plans.
Okay, it's in the plans.
Yeah.
But you didn't go to the Cherokee
No, this
Nation.
was with,
But wait, but y'all didn't go pull the Cherokee Nation down here. They gonna go pull tribes who don't even know we exist.
well, you don't know what we're doing, do you?
That's the problem.
You're making an assumption without knowing anything.
No, I'm not making an assumption.
Yes,
I am
ma'am,
an Indian.
you
I know
are.
y'all doing stuff
You
that
most
we not
certainly are.
included
You
in.
just made an assumption right
Do
here.
anybody
before
think I made an
everybody.
assumption?
She wasn't in the room when you explained what you're doing. Why should
I'm telling him what I feel. In the room or out. And it's not about just him. It's the whole thing. He said he go back into the 70s doing stuff. Okay, so in the 70s, where was the Jena band of Choctaw? Where was these tribes he brought in here? These people never came here till they invited them in here. Y'all understanding what I'm saying? But they didn't take time to reach to my people that was right here in Bayou La Combe. And to me, that's like invisible. And Jeannie, I'm sorry, but just like y'all glorified Salmon to my friends of Salmon, I would not sit on a board with the word friend of Salmon. Because what did Salmon and Fritchies and the Porter Buns did? He just said, those are the people who was making the money. So they took stuff.
They invited you to sit on the board?
I don't want to be on the board.
But did they invite you? And you
No.
turned them down?
No.
Oh.
But Jeannie knew I wasn't going to sit underneath Salmon because they knew from day one how I felt about the name Salmon.
Actually, Ellen,
So you don't want to be on the board?
I want a new board.
What do you want?
A Bonfaka board. Salmon didn't live here.
A Bonfaka board?
That's right.
What is that?
The board should not be Salmon's nothing. It should be Bonfaka.
Who says so?
Because this is Bonfaka. And Slidell have their stuff, and there's nothing here for Bonfaka. Nothing.
Well,
and
create it.
That's right.
That's what we're
I
here
worked,
for.
hold on.
That's
Do you
what
know,
I'm here for, to
hold
help
on.
you create it.
I helped work on getting that Camp Salmon there.
But I'm running out of time.
I
gotta
have
get
sit
out
in
of
meetings, Jeannie. Have I not been a part of that fight?
Ellen, you were, Tom and you both came, like with all of us, we went.
But where are my representations at? You went through the park the other day. What you see there for my people? Just like he said he ain't seen nothing when he went to the
Right
thing.
now, the only thing up about the indigenous people is the trifold that you created with Kevin Davis, and it's got the St. Tammany Parish emblem on it.
And we got 6 acres supposed to be in that park. And it's white people that's on the board of the park. They ain't even from here. So I didn't think the board was set up properly.
There's no board for there's this.
There's a board for Salmon called Friends
See,
of Salmon.
this was our plan back when Kevin Davis first.
But Kevin don't have the right, neither you, to plan on the Indians that's here. That's like me, okay, all right, hold up. I want to do a Confederate story. Since the white people writing about the Indians, let me write a Confederate story. Now, Tom, your family history ain't so good either. Let's be honest. Right now, when we look at, we're going to do real history, okay, guys? I have to check his history because he writing about Choctaw. So I'm figuring, was he Choctaw? I went to dig to see, and I didn't find nothing, but his grandfather was a colonel in the Confederate Army.
No, he wasn't in the Confederate.
What he was in.
No.
And
As
they
a matter of
lost,
fact, he died during the Civil War,
but where his plantation was.
and he was in
You come from a
favor.
very wealthy family off
Oh,
of
yeah,
slavery.
very
off of
wealthy.
slavery, yeah.
And
A very
they-
wealthy family,
Yeah,
and they lost their wealth after the war.
no, they didn't.
Oh, no, I'm
No,
sure they didn't, because they had
Alicia-
ways to hide it.
Alicia, his wife, made a deal with both the Confederates and
And
the
then
Yankees.
there you go. Come on,
Yeah,
let's talk
yeah.
history. Get up there, child.
Oh, sure.
Sound that horse you riding over there.
You know, I know.
And they was
about-
working both sides.
Yeah,
Confederate
she was
and
smart.
Union. Yeah, she was smart. It was a woman, you're right.
She was sharp, man.
And when the junk got hot,
And
she grabbed her riches.
Belmont is the plantation that they had as their summer home up in Nashville.
Come on.
And that's where Trump and
Come on.
Biden
Get back and sit
had
down.
their
Sit down. I know that history too. Come
I'm
on. Saddle your horse, man. Let's ride.
I'm
Y'all hear it, huh?
I need to get home.
You coming from, I'm gonna let you go home, but now
There's lots of stuff
But
that
let's
we
tell
can
both,
do.
let's tell both
You
histories.
and I can
Are
do.
we gonna tell both histories?
Of course.
All right, we're gonna tell how the Confederates got outsmarted. We got outsmarted by the Confederates in a way. Confederates is still here. That's why he went to Trump, guys. Y'all listen to what he know I know what I'm talking about. He know but
You don't know everything. You only
that
think
smart
you
grandmother
do. You
yours-
only think you do,
Yo-
and trying to con some of these people into believing
hold on,
everything
hold on.
you
Am
say
I
is
conning into
true.
y'all?
No, you're not conning.
Do y'all research for
I
yourself?
say you
All
are.
right.
We all research.
You just
Hold on.
You
These are
just,
some
you
intelligent
just,
people.
you just making assumptions about me. I'm gonna lay it
Now,
back
did I
on
make
you.
an
woman.
assumption?
No, it's research.
I'm telling
We
your
all
real
look it
history
up.
like you out there telling,
No,
trying to tell mine.
I
Now,
didn't say
he got
anything
sober.
about your history.
Okay, but your grandmother
I didn't
wasn't
say
intelligent.
anything about your
We can
history.
talk about the Choctaw,
I didn't
my
say
history.
anything about your
You don't
history
talk
now.
about- look, hold
Don't
on.
ever say that.
Well, who is
You
he
know
talking about?
that's not true.
Who
You
talking
know
about?
that's not
Tom,
true.
who's the Choctaws? Who is the Choctaw?
I just write about what
All
I
right.
see.
Now let me say on that part.
You're
Who
not
was-
writing about my history. You're
The
telling people what
Confederate
it
actually
was.
was out there at Fort Pike, right?
Who
And
was?
They were the Confederate soldiers. You know they had the Fort
Yeah,
Pike.
they,
you know,
they,
come on
were,
now.
they were at Fort
They
Pike.
was right there at Fort Pike. And that was how they moved the Indians from here to Trail of Tears. The only people traveling Trail of Tears really was the Cherokee. That side of my people.
No,
Now,
the Choctaw were in the Trail
no,
of
they
Tears.
wasn't walking
first.
though. But no.
No,
Seminole-
they were first.
But
the
how they went? How
Choctaw
they
were
went?
first.
But how they started
No.
going? Let's tell how they first
The
started going.
Cherokee were not until 1835. The Choctaw
later in.
went in the 1830s.
But we calling everything the Trail of Tears, but they left out of here on the boats, right? They would load the boats. And
The
even,
boat?
yeah, the boats, the ships, the schooners.
Oh,
A lot
boat,
of-
I'm sorry.
Yeah, they went by boat, not walking all up. Y'all get me? Now, years later,
Yeah.
the ones who wanted to go last on them second removals, he keeps saying they came back to push him out, them were the ones that walked. But the first ones left here from boats from these forts. Okay? That's why that fort is called Fort Pike. Because Albert Pike,
Zebulon Pike.
that's right, he designed, but I say Albert Pike designed him and his people what we know today as Indian Territory. He was a news reporter in Arkansas around Fort Smith. Y'all listening to what I'm saying? The Confederates have never left. You see, he just went straight to Donald Trump, just like that. Be-do-do-do-do. It ain't never left. They
What are you talking about
glorified.
Donald Trump for?
Because all that junk ain't never left. The same plantation your people had is Angola prison today.
Yeah, it was named, it had 7 plantations, one of which was Angola, and when, here's what they did. When the Yankees took over, they converted it into a prison and used former slaves,
That's correct.
put them in prison
Correct.
on any little charge.
Correct.
And this is into the 1900s.
That's correct.
I mean, Angola was a
You
badass.
can't say I don't know my history now.
Oh, I know you know. You got to do is read.
No,
For
you gotta
God's
read,
sake.
I know.
But not
But
a lot
let's do
of
it this
people.
way.
see.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah,
But I
exactly,
do.
exactly.
And I know about
you
your
do.
grandma,
I'm
the
not
hero.
saying anything
Your grandma was
that-
a smart lady. Let me tell you. Let's
that
finish
you
now.
can't tell
Let me
me
tell you how
what
smart
I
she
know.
was. I'm gonna tell you about your people. They can tell my mind. Your grandma was so smart. She had both government payers. And when it got hot on one end, she loaded that stuff up in them cotton bales. And that money was
Who
she
did?
took your grandma.
Yeah,
And
she
took-
wasn't my grandma. She was a cousin to Rutherford B. Hayes.
That's
who was the
right. That's who
president.
I'm talking about. He was the
Alicia
president.
Hayes, yeah.
And they smuggled her out of here.
She
with-
was sharp.
They smuggled
man.
her out of here because they owed her too. So she stuffed her
I
riches
admire
in
her,
the
but
cotton.
I don't approve.
But she
You
did do it, though,
understand?
didn't she?
Yeah, she did it.
And she stuffed it in
Look,
cotton
and
bales
she
and took
married,
it.
the thing is, Rutherford B. Hayes was an abolitionist.
That's
Very
right.
strong
That's
abolitionist.
right.
And Alicia married Isaac Franklin, who was the biggest slave trader in America.
That's correct. But they got her out of here and got her to the place that you're talking about. She can use her wealth.
She
that
went
way.
to England.
Yeah, but they first they took her
I
north.
think she died in England.
But they took her north first. But they saved her. That was the
Yeah.
promise they made her. They wouldn't let her
But yeah,
die.
she didn't like Louisiana.
So they saved her in the end. But
Okay, so could you just, one thing I wanna clear up since Jeannie said that you came here to work with you, is what is it you're planning to do? And Abita, because she wasn't here when you were saying that.
well, first thing we need to do, me and him, is clarify that there was no tribe here until 2007. Now, what you fixing to do, Tom? Tom always doing something. What you finna do up in the beater?
Listen, give me a hug.
I'm gonna give you a hug, but I wanna know what you finna do in the beater.
God, you're taller than I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a
You're a war horse.
I'm a war horse.
You're a war horse.
You hit me again, I'm gonna take it as a lick. And I'm gonna hit you back now. Look, show. But don't be. I tell them kids that a
I love you, Chief. You're all right.
Whatever you fixing to do up there, first thing you need to do is clarify that there were no tribe in La Combe till 2007.
I don't need to do anything.
Well, you really don't.
You know, no, ma'am. I do what I please.
I
Like
agree.
Abdullah used to
I
say.
agree.
I will listen to you and I
I'm
will
gonna keep
work
the
with
last.
you.
Keep it up. See, you ain't getting no liquor, you know.
I'm not gonna.
Keep it up. All right? But I'm going to keep telling the truth. And I hope you all
I will
incorporate.
work, yeah, I'll work with you.
So, Jeannie,
We're looking for the same thing.
I think
You know,
we
we are.
Excuse me 1 second before you leave, because I walked in on the last.
Goodbye.
Well, goodbye, but the thing is, it's a repeat of what she was saying. You're taking heritage and making it history to
and culture.
whoever's combining it and making the riches off of it, but you have not included the people, who should be telling the story. It's gonna be chief, it's gonna be called chief, and that's a title that should not be used. I don't care what the acronym is.
And if Jeannie don't see a difference in it, someone, that's not
You're calling
right.
it chief and it should not.
Why don't
be
y'all
mentioned.
take y'all game to Oklahoma?
Why?
Here,
Because
this is-
there is a specific thing that goes with a chief, and it goes with honor.
Jeannie, this
And
is not
the
coming
wars
together
that
because
they have
I am
fought
the
to
chief
keep
here.
their
Tom's
heritage,
not a chief.
that's actually an insult to the chief.
It's insult to my whole tribe.
Well,
It's
that's,
insult.
that's an opinion.
It's a very close opinion for the people
And
whose
it may
heritage
be,
here. But you see,
it may
that's
be
what I'm
valid,
saying.
but it's still an opinion.
Yes, it
It's
is.
not a fact.
It is a very factual
Jeannie,
fact.
No, ma'am,
We
it's
want
in
to
your
know
Do
opinion.
your
change that
history. It is not just my opinion.
And
It
you've
is
heard enough of the
factual.
nigger stuff.
Because.
I'm not dealing with
again,
that.
y'all-
Chief is a word.
Yes, that has
It's
a
a
meaning.
word.
It's a meaning.
Yeah.
But it means
All
leader.
words have
It
meaning.
means
And
leader.
it's
All words have meaning.
leader, yes it does.
But that doesn't make
Jeannie,
it
you tried.
exclusive
I'm
to
not
you.
No, it
I'm
means
not
Yeah.
gonna worry about
it makes
No,
it
ma'am, it does
exclusive
not.
to who is actually leading
It's an
with
opinion.
the truth, not just an opinion. Okay.
That's your opinion.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And again,
I know, well,
factual.
and you admit it.
All right, let me do my closure on this show.
Put that there.
Sharon,
Well, good.
let me do close on show.
Yeah.
We've
Okay.
been cooking with Chief, serving up here. You on?
I'll be back.
We've been cooking with Chief, serving up history, and if y'all notice, history can get to be really intertwined and it can get all tangled up, and facts can come out. But if you have to listen to this over and over, you hear the word nigger come out his mouth and everything. So when you meeting with these type people, y'all hear me saying clans, who? Y'all hear me talking about Confederacy? You got a chance to witness St. Tammany Parish, how the history is put out, who is put out by. You learned today that there were no Bayou La Combe Choctaw tribe until 2007. Put together by him and the federally recognized tribe from Oklahoma, the Jena, and several others. This is what we've been dealing with. And he admits it's about money and grants, and he get grants. Now, it's time for the government to investigate this stuff. We have enough